Spring is in full swing, and so naturally I'm sure that your galleries are filling up with photos of flowers and different blooms. So let's see if we can create something and do something with these photographs. Howdy everyone, I hope you're doing well. And in this video, we're going to be covering different editing styles that work great for different blooms or spring flowers. And so let's just not waste any more time and jump right in. For the first edit, I'm gonna go for sort of a soft, dreamy look. And so let's start off with exposure. Since I want to give the photo a warm and gentle feel, I'm gonna brighten up quite a bit. So I'm gonna increase exposure and the white point as well. I'm gonna lift the shadows to brighten darker areas, and that'll also soften the image overall. But to keep the depth, I'm gonna slightly lower the black point, and I'll also add a bit of overall contrast. Now to make the photo warmer, I'm gonna shift the white balance temperature slightly towards yellow, and we're gonna nudge the tint just a bit from green towards magenta, just to enhance the pink tones in the petals. Now for richer colors, I'm gonna increase both saturation and vibrance in the color section, and I'm gonna slightly boost clarity, but only in the lights. Now I'll scroll down to effects, and we're gonna focus on specifically glow here to add even more of that softness. And by increasing the strength and lowering the threshold a bit, you can see how it softens and brightens the entire scene, especially the flower petals. Personally, I like adding a bit of grain just for a sort of old school or cinematic feel, and it definitely gives it a slight analog vibe, especially combined with glow. So I'm gonna increase the grain amount just a little bit here. I really like giving these photos a film-like look using these effects, but of course it's always gonna come down to what your personal preference is. If I turn these effects off, I'm still gonna like the photo, but I just enjoy adding that little extra touch. And especially when it comes to flower photos or any kind of bud, bloom-like photos in the spring, where we want to emphasize softness and create this gentle, smooth look without any harsh edges. By the way, if you want to get more tips on how to create dreamy photos like this, check out this video, and you'll also find a link in the description. To enhance the softness even more, let's also add a radial gradient to the flowers in the foreground and slightly increase the exposure. Since I'm brightening the image quite a bit, I'm also keeping an eye on the histogram to avoid any blown out highlights. And now let's compare the before and after. That looks pretty good. By the way, if you're looking for even more tips on spring photography, not just flowers, check out this video. Of course, you'll also find the link in the description. And now let's take a look at another example, this time on a darker image. First, let's crop the photo so the focused flowers are centered. Now, just a bit unusually, let's skip global adjustments and go straight to the local ones. I want the flowers in the center to be brighter than the background, and I want the background to be darker so that they really stand out. And let's add a radial gradient to the center and increase the gradient width to the maximum for a smooth transition. Then let's raise the exposure, shadows, and add some contrast. I'll also increase texture as well as clarity. Now I'm gonna wanna darken everything else just to really draw the attention right to the center. So I'm gonna duplicate the mask, invert it, and then simply reverse the adjustments, lowering the exposure. To give the photo a nice color tone, I'm gonna use one of our flowers presets, specifically the one called Primrose, and reduce its intensity just slightly. Now let's look at yet another variation, and this one's gonna be ideal for vibrant, colorful flowers. First, let's use the AI automatic enhancement for overall composition, and right away we can see some dark vignetting, so let's go to effects and try to balance it a bit with a lighter vignette. Now I want to emphasize the flower colors, so I'll go to color shift, specifically saturation, and let's slightly increase the red, boost the green, and we're gonna boost the green quite a bit to make it stand out, and also increase purple as well as pink. Now there's a distracting white area in this green cone, so let's remove it using the clone stamp. Now let's move on to local adjustments. First, I'm gonna select the AI sky and shift its white balance temperature slightly towards blue, just to make the sky a bit more vibrant and create a nice contrast with the flowers. To emphasize the light hitting the flowers, I'll add a diagonal radial gradient, increase exposure, and shift temperature toward yellow to simulate warm spring sunlight. I'll also add another radial gradient on the fountain and slightly increase its exposure. Finally, to give the photo a more playful and colorful atmosphere, let's use split toning, shifting shadows towards warm yellow and orange tones and lights slightly towards turquoise. Let's compare the before and after. And finally, let's go back to Dreamy Photos and show one more way to achieve that soft look. And this time we're going to be using the editor module. I'll start with a crop again, placing this particular flower in the center since I really liked how it was lit. Now in exposure, let's begin by lifting shadows to brighten darker areas, and then let's increase overall contrast to add depth. To emphasize the sunlit petals, I'm going to lower lights so that their shapes and tonal differences stand out that much more, and let's raise whites to bring back brightness in the brightest areas. To enhance those bright petals even more, let's increase clarity in lights almost to the maximum. And yes, that is exactly the look I was going for. Now, as for white balance, the image feels just a bit too warm, so I'm going to shift it towards cooler tones. And again, let's support pink tones by shifting tint a little bit towards magenta. It looks a lot better, but something just still feels a little bit off. Let's increase vibrance just to make the colors pop a bit more, and then cool down the temperature just a bit further to enhance the pink-blue contrast with the sky. So we could call this finished, but I think it needs a bit of a sharper element. So how about we add some sharpening using the Smart Sharpen, increasing strength, radius, and preserve the contours. Okay, that looks better. I'm curious, what do you guys think? Let us know in the comments. Because I think the before and after comparison here, I definitely think the image looks better than it did before. Now I'm thinking about drawing more attention to the center here. I won't use a radial gradient this time because that would affect the contrast that we've built there. Instead, let's go with a light vignette. So I'll set the method to color since I want to soften the edges rather than just to brighten them. Okay, that looks pretty good, but I still feel like something's missing, that final touch, that wow effect. So how about we switch to the editor module again and add a lens flare. I'll keep all the options enabled and just click where I want that effect to take place. Since this area is already sunlit, we can leave the light source visible, but for the other photos, it's going to be better to remove it for a more realistic look. And I'm quite happy with that result. So this is how different flower edits can look. Let us know in the comments which flower editing style that you thought was better. And I hope that you enjoyed this video, you found it inspiring, and that you guys go out and get some good shots yourselves. If you guys did and you liked it, give us a like, and don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss another video. And I hope you guys enjoy editing with Zoner Studio and that you enjoy spring. See you guys soon. Ciao.